Now, we have plenty of that guy or that GM threads, but how about that group thread?
Get out. If you find yourself in that group, just
Run!
fucking... just eject as hard as you fucking can.
So what was the worst party you've ever had the pleasure of GMing for? Terrible characters, terrible players. All manners of nightmarish material are welcome here. I sometimes GM one-shots on conventions, and good lord, some of those people. I swear, most of them just go to cons because they can utterly ruin games without repercussions.
See, I've always wondered about that. I've always been fearful of the idea of playing games at random cons.
I know.
I've talked to a few guys about it, and they say, no, it's actually good fun. I actually quite enjoy it, but I don't know, I'm just worried, and I'm terrified of the idea. You know what, I'm terrified of the books of someone fucking recognising us. Hey, I know, yeah, that's you. No,
what are you, draw a moustache quick?
Yeah, and we're going to have to show up wearing them glasses with the wee moustaches on them.
Well, they might recognise you, they'll only know us from our voice, me from my voice anyway.
Yeah.
My D&D group is nightmarish. I GM'd Dark Heresy for them. It was our first RPG. They loved it. I loved it. But things fizzled out. I saw some stuff on D&D and decided to check it out with them. We did character creation and everyone was excited. This was the last night I can remember having fun with them. Right out of the gate, we had a character die. The cleric that was in our group decided that fighting was more important than healing, so while the whole party was waiting for him to heal, telling him to heal, begging him to heal them, he was simply doing shit damage with a longsword. Eventually, somebody died without ever being healed once. The cleric then decided he was going to loot this man's possessions, and that his new character shouldn't get any of the loot since he died and didn't help us at all. I usually let these things pan out through party dynamics, but the whole party went along with it. Right,
so first of all, I'm just going to say the biggest mistake here is a cleric with a longsword. What is wrong with you? Clerics, I don't know why, but clerics need morning stars, hammers, maces, all that good stuff. Yeah. And I will never, a cleric with a longsword just does not, it just doesn't work in my mind, and that is unforgivable. Next post. Okay, sorry, not next post, it's the next part of the story.
Yeah. As the weeks continued, we had one player, our rogue, show up constantly late. Like we would meet at 6, and he said he would be there by 7, and show up at 8:30. Eventually, we all stopped waiting for him to start because we had a guy who usually had to leave by 10. Now, when said late rogue did show up, he was the biggest pain in the ass ever. In a typical night, if we were in a dungeon, we would get through 2 or 3 rooms in 4 hours. Combat was hell. They would come across a completely harmless encounter, like 10 goblins or something for a party of 5 adventurers, and the rogue would go through every single little thing he could possibly do to gain an advantage. Eventually he would end up rolling a decent roll that got boosted to somewhere around 20 to 25 and a 14 or 15 AC goblin, and it would take him about 10 to 20 minutes every turn to figure out how to do this. And he refused to roll until he got this. Eventually I started putting a timer on turns and banned talking during combat unless it was your turn, as the rogue's turn usually devolved into a group brainstorming session about how to get the extra +1.
I don't mind talking in combat because I like to imagine, if you're a group of adventurers, you've probably discussed battle tactics with each other. Yeah. It's if something like this has happened, we'll do this. And I think that's something that would have been
pre-planned. For a fucking +1,
but just give them the bonk on the head. Can you please give them the bonk on the head? Can I please get advantage, Mr. DM? Yes, you can have disadvantage. Advantage. There you go.
Then we have the dwarf fighter. The man is an idiot. That's all I can say.
I feel okay. Were we in this group? Was I the one here?
He was the one who died earlier, and he didn't even really protest that the group stole all of his gear and refused to give him any of the spoils of battle. Oh well, that doesn't really affect me. What affected me was his characters. He named his first dwarf fighter Balls.
Beast?
I can't say I was sad to see him go. When he died and made a new character, it was the exact same character, only this one was Balls' cousin. Balls the second. I grimaced, but whatever. If it's fun for him, I'll go with it. The most irritating part of this player is that he would either interrupt my description to tell me his actions based on conjecture, or he would ask a question I just answered that he missed because he was playing PSP.
I can already imagine him.
Yes.
I can like someone that plays PS. Well, I suppose it was back then.
Yeah. Yes. He would literally bring his PSP to an RPG night and just play it when we weren't in combat. And sometimes during combat. The first one usually annoyed me the most. You enter a room, you see is there a bed? I look under the bed. No, just let me fit. What about the dresser? I move it and search behind it for secret doors, etc. It was awful. Him asking things I just answered wasn't too bad, as I usually just said, ask your party. But it pissed his party off something fierce.
Okay, I'm gonna admit something, right? I was working on a character, so I was, right? And I want to play a goblin wild magic sorcerer. And I've got two names for him, either Nobby, right? Or Ballbag Baggins.
This is James.
I think Ballbag, because my idea for him was, right, so he looks pretty much like a night goblin from Warhammer 40k, and he's got his big pointy hat, like his big hood thing, and all you can see is like wee glowing eyes. I couldn't work out the colour yet.
Like a Jawa?
Yeah, kind of like a Jawa eyes, and then a big nose pointing out, and then a big ballbag chin. So that's why he's called Ballbag Baggins, because that's one of the only noticeable traits about him. I don't think it's that bad, guys. Don't give me any of that
silence.
I thought it was good, alright?
The last two members were just fuckwads in their own unique ways.
Me. Me.
Nothing terrible. They just rubbed me wrong. One was a power gamer. He scored every book looking for an advantage. The worst was he did this for all characters. By level 5 he was basically running everybody's character. I don't see how this didn't bother them, but it made combat even worse for me. I had to tweak everything to make it hard for them to defeat the monsters so it would stay fun. The final player was a wizard. He always took charge in social situations, despite making charisma a dump stat. When I would ask him to roll diplomacy, he would say, I roll intelligence because that's what people care about. No, you roll diplomacy. Charisma is a stat for a reason. No, it's not. It's for gay move bards. Who would like
uncontrollably based.
No one likes bards or gnomes.
Based. I love this guy.
They respect affluence and intelligence like my wizard has. I get my way always because I'm so smart. By the end of our campaign, when things were shit anyway, I generally had him arrested, beat up, spit on, etc. for his arrogance. Needless to say, I eventually told them I will never GM another session of D&D for them ever again, and if they wanted to keep playing, they'd need their own PDFs, own books, and their own place to play, because I was finished.
I don't blame him, but I see too much of myself in a lot of these people.
All of these people?
I can kind of see glimpses of myself. I don't think, all I'm saying is, at least I'm fun, alright? I think I'm fun.
He thinks.
Yeah.
Psst. Hey, lean in closer. This is fucking ASMR channel now. You know it's pretty fucking based. Titties. Go see titties. Lots of titties.
All the titties.
Go over to the website, check out all the models. You guys know the score. We have some really nice looking models over there. And we have a lot of
sci-fi gothic?
Yeah.
Let's call them sci-fi gothic.
And if models isn't your shit, we have loads of subclasses and we keep adding them every other week or so. We add a lot.
We got a lot.
Look, we've got big brains. We add shit. Oh. But yes, go over to the website, check out everything. If you haven't subscribed, what the fuck you doing? Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell as well, and let's get back to the video. Every week we're going to be doing a giveaway of the new pinup model of the month, or if models isn't your thing, all of our homebrew content. If you want to be in with a chance to win the giveaway, all you need to do is subscribe. That's it. Hit the subscribe button. That's it.
Do it now.
But last week's winner was this guy. Well done! Yay! Round of applause. Yeah. Everybody stands up and claps. But enough of that. Let's get back to the video. I DM'd a group with a lawful neutral halfling monk who tried to steal a donkey from a neutral townsfolk commoner in the middle of the night. The monk made too much noise and the guy came out of his house with a crossbow to defend his property. The monk killed the guy and the donkey was spooked from the ruckus and tried to run off. Unfortunately for it, the donkey had been tied to a post with a rope around its neck. So the animal snapped its own neck in a panic. Long story short, the monk ended up being committed to a nearby lunatic asylum. It says, what? Lunatic asylum. Once he was apprehended by the authorities. It was a decent resolution for the character because the PC was playing his monk as a chaotic neutral, or arguably chaotic evil.
I'm gonna argue, like, stealing is evil.
But
it's evil.
Yeah. So he couldn't take more monk levels anyway.
Shame.
What the fuck?
That sounds like a disaster.
That's a good way for the DM to deal with it.
You know, come to think of it, there's been a lot of games I've played with Guardbro, and horses get bullied for some weird reason, and Guardbro's the one that loves horses. But he just, you know, the problem is because he puts horses in it. And we always just said, well, we could probably use a horse for something. And Guardbro gets really upset with us because, for instance, there was one time we had a horse on a carriage and we set the carriage on fire and we spooked the horse, got it to run to try and like barge its way through like a...
With a flaming chariot.
Yeah, with a flaming chariot carriage on the back. I mean, like, I thought it was a great idea, but like Guardbro was like, guys.
Leave the horse alone.
Yeah.
I was in a group that contained a fat neckbeard trying to insert his creepy, to the point of almost hilarity, submissive women fetish into the game, with a schizophrenic, who, to be fair, was trying to be normal but failing, and a bullshit power gamer who was invited by the co-DM who turned up to one game, didn't help anyone, and never came back.
I mean, like, you know, like
I was a rogue, kind of a swashbuckling trickster built around having lots of skills. The fat fetish fuck was a rogue with the same basic build, but he had played a Momo prostitute.
What?
What's a Momo?
I'm not Googling that. Let's just keep going. I don't want to know.
He just followed us through dungeons, clapping and sometimes criticising our fighting when the neckbeard forgot he was playing his ultra-submissive slave woman. We went to town and slept...
Can you at least give her a fucking level or two in bard?
Yeah. We went to town and slept with everybody, chuckling gleefully as he bullied our first-time DM, a fairly young girl, into describing how he slept with over 100 dudes in a single night. He boasted about how many points he was putting into seduction and perform sex. He bullied the DM into letting him take feats from the Book of Erotic whatever it's called, including a mauve feat that meant monsters had to pass a charisma-based check, or not be able to attack her because she's so submissive. Our mentally ill player was okay.
Beast schizo was beast.
He didn't really have a head for learning the rules, but he was just a low-level fighter. He tried really hard to fit in, and he just wanted to be a character from the Conan story, really. But he
Wait, what made him schizophrenic?
No, James, but he couldn't help himself from rocking in his chair and muttering, blood, blood. All the blood is dripping from swords and knives and little eyeballs and stuff.
Okay, well that makes sense. What?
No. Our power gamer played an evil cleric in an explicitly all-good game and just pushed everyone about and acted like a cunt. There was also a wizard and a druid in the party. The wizard dropped out when the overweight neckbeard joined. I'm pretty sure the druid player was trying to hit on me too.
I don't know why. I would love see this type of shit. I would love to be fly on the wall here.
So would I.
I would love fly on the wall. You know what disappoints me? What disappoints me is, like, I'm pretty sure most groups go through this, where one of the people say, "Oh, you know what? We should totally like record our games and like post them on YouTube or whatever." And like, you know, that sounds great and all, but like anytime I've watched them, they tend to be kind of boring.
Mm-hmm. I want shit like this.
I want to see an absolute fucking train wreck.
Yeah.
I want to see the most depraved shit you've ever seen. I want but I suppose what I want would not be allowed on YouTube.
Yeah.
So. I know maybe it's kind of like, you know, the way people, so say you're driving along in your car and there's like a really horrible car crash and you can't help but stare at it. That's kind of what I feel like with this, and you just can't help but be drawn to it in some weird way, shape or form.
I was thankfully not the GM for this group, but my only experience with Exalted was with a pretty shitty group. We had my acquaintance who roped me into this group. He always plays character as a vaguely bored, murderous sociopath. Thankfully he never raped, or I would have slapped his shit. Then there was the guy who literally brought in a copy of Shinobi to use the game's box art as his character portrait. Played an utterly predictable ninja. The third player was an intense min-maxer in a system specifically designed to be a min-maxer's wet dream. They would always make Monty Python and the Holy Grail jokes and chug Mountain Dew.
You know, there's something very special about Monty Python and the Holy Grail because it's one of the funniest movies ever made.
Yeah.
But the second
someone quotes it,
it's instantly not funny. And it's instantly
It's only funny in the
cringeworthy.
movies.
And
nobody can pull it off.
But you've heard the jokes millions of times,
Yeah.
and anyone trying to do it, it just sounds like, oh my god, can you actually please fucking stop that?
And neckbeards on every one of them. I'm more of a role player, so I didn't have a ton of fun overall. To the GM's credit, he was fair, just, and at least tried to keep the grip pointed in a vaguely the right direction. It was clear to me he was quite flustered though. I suppose the grip doesn't sound horrible in retrospect, but it's the first 2 times I've truly not had fun on a gaming grip.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame. But look, could have been worse.
It could have been way worse.
Fuck, there's been a lot worse than this throughout already.
You know who the worst are? Hippies. You all know what I'm talking about. They smoke pot like it's a badge of honour instead of just something to do.
Yes.
They refuse.
You guys know it cures cancer, by the way, guys.
They refuse alcohol and processed food because it's an affront to nature, and they're vegan. So it's impossible to cater for them without shelling out way too much money when they're only half of your grip.
Wait, how many hippies do you know?
I know. Everything has to be PC. They're always talking about the patriarchy and people of colour and complaining that your historical medieval Europe campaign hasn't got enough diversity.
This is 2012, by the way. This guy was ahead of the curve, just saying.
That their ultra-empowered pacifist female negotiator is too constrained by their gender roles in medieval Europe. They complain about the way you include magic because it's apparently insulting to witches.
What? I haven't heard that in fucking...
An ancient and gentle religion which has been persecuted for centuries. And it's not fun for us that you include pseudo-percussion of Wicca in your games.
I mean, you're a fucking witch. You're getting burnt at the stake.
Everyone's comments and jokes are just too offensive. From 2012 to 2022.
This guy's ahead of... He was definitely ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. You know? Definitely ahead of it.
Everyone's comments and jokes are just too offensive, and they want everyone to censor themselves as if we care what their stupid ideology says about making dick jokes or movie references or taking the piss. Oh, and they have terrible fucking hygiene. Like full-on bad smell, dirty clothes, no respect for my goddamn house. And for people so concerned about being offended, they're not actually fucking polite.
Yes! That's the
biggest thing! Oh.
That's the bit that
they
actually
have no
does
fucking manners whatsoever.
Like, this is the biggest one that gets me with...
Don't offend me, but like...
I'll get into it after this guy's post.
They don't say please or thank you. They insult everyone else whenever they feel like it and won't apologise. And one of the little shits actually tried to threaten me, a semi-professional boxer, with his weakling vegan body, because I said I was sick of the wankers.
Out the fuck? See if you try and get on like that in my house. Out. Banish out. I'm sending you to the fucking shadow realm.
So yeah, none of them were ever allowed back in my house.
Good.
And me and KZ?
Who the fuck, KZ?
Decided we'd meet any of our other friends, mates, before we brought them into that game. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with you. I like the way this guy's so ahead of the curve on it.
From 2012.
There was whispers of this type of stuff, and no one really took it seriously because they're all just like fucking uni students, but now all these uni students actually alright
in the world.
Alright in the world. The biggest downfall was fucking honestly the worst thing that ever happened was Tumblr being yeeted,
and then they all migrated to Twitter
and everywhere else. They either went to Twitter or Reddit, and that's whenever everything else just became fucking unusable.
Yeah.
But no, I completely get that. Like, see them people. The biggest one that annoys me is pronouns. For instance, if I meet someone and they say, "Oh, would you please?" It'd be like, "Could you please refer to me like this?" I'll be like, "Yeah, sure,
yeah,
whatever."
That's fine. That's no problem.
Whatever.
But if
you go in,
you think that I should assume that you're whatever
before I even know you,
wrong,
and then they go into hysterics almost. It's like, fuck off. You know what I mean? Let's be reasonable here, guys. Let's just be fucking reasonable for 5 fucking minutes.
But that is so true. The people who are so concerned about fucking other people being offended.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to be offended for other people's behalf, even though they're not offended. You know what I love?
No, it's that they're not fucking polite
they're not,
themselves,
they're
and
not.
they think that they have the right to just be fucking rude to everybody.
Yeah,
really annoys me. It literally costs nothing to have manners in this world.
You don't need to be a dick for the sake of being a dick. Really, that's what I think. But no, this guy was ahead of the curve. If only he knew. If only he knew.
I think the worst group I was ever in was running a 3.5 game called I Wish to Be the Little Girl.
This is not going to be it. It ain't going to be it at all. By the way, she actually looks like a little girl, but she's actually 500 years old. You see what I did there? It's not. It's actually like, you know, you think I'm a pedo, but I'm actually not a pedo.
My character was pretty terrible too. Basically, first time playing 3.5, picked a character class at random and rolled a fucking
Sinjinja! I don't know.
Shinjinja. Shinjinja.
Sunny.
Who I played as a little kid, basically guided along by wind spirits and thinking everything is fucking awesome forever. But it doesn't really hold a candle to the paedophile cleric, the 23 but looks 10 because necropolitan, druid, and sorcerer who spent most of the game tentacle raping each other and having tea parties.
What's the tea parties for?
And I spent my downtime whoring myself out because that's what women do. Half-elf bard and the Futanari Catgirl Skullgirl Warblade from the land of Catgirl Skullgirls. God, that game was so terrible.
Why the fuck did you say that game was terrible? You sound
you
like
were just as bad.
Don't even try. Oh, guys, I was in this game, but like, no, I played it like. You know what this is? This is post wankarity.
This
is exactly what this fucking is, and I'm not going to hear any other about it.
One player rolled a 12-year-old child who he described crying whenever he didn't get his own way, and generally destroying any social interaction in the game. Another player rolled a martial-type character with a personality which didn't extend past hit thing with sword.
Yeah.
The next player rolled a chaotic good witch who should have by all rights been evil. The fourth player was the only reasonable one for the most part. You were the fourth player, weren't you?
No, I think he's a DM.
Oh, is he? This group then spent the better part of a session stealing from each other, stealing from NPCs, and blaming it on each other, and then spent over an hour discussing the best way to flood the Dwarven Kingdom so that the merfolk could live there, before they encountered a black pudding and almost all died due to sheer determined retardation. I bolted as fast as I could imagine after that.
I honestly, I've heard of worse.
I've heard of worse.
I've heard a lot worse. I wonder, because, like, you know, okay, so this thread's a bit old. I always wonder how many people actually fell for the whole, oh, it looks like a little girl you see, but it's actually was it anime that started this? What started?
I think
was it vampire fiction? I don't know. I think it was vampires more started this, but I want to know just how did so many people just fall for this idea of being like, oh yeah, you know, I'm totally not a pedo, but you know what I mean? It's like you're putting on extra steps here, man. There's a lot of like seems to be like you're working a really big work around here just to get your way.
Gurtok, 35-year-old tidy-looking man, playing as half-orc monk/barbarian. His character speaks about himself only in third person. Tabletop version of the Hulk, basically. Every time his character punches something, he roars and beats his chest. I hope he does it IRL.
I think he's just watched too much King Kong, alright?
One time, when the DM said that his character can't do this action because he is afraid, dude flips the damn table, grabs DM by the shirt, lifts him in the air and screams in his face, "Gurtok not afraid of anything!" GM gave him anti-fear perk after that, just in case.
I mean, at least he stayed in character.
Well,
I'll give him that.
Murderion, 15-year-old teenager covered in acne, plays as human fire mage. I mean it. He never uses anything not fire blazed.
But fire is based.
At all. Kid is a fucking pyromaniac. Got a nasty habit of bringing tons of those harmless firecloth balls. set one on fire, and throwing them at the GM every time he cast Fireball.
What the fuck is this?
After Gertok raged at him because he almost burned down his shirt, he throws fireballs in open window.
I really hope this is real. I really want this to be real.
This GM's getting so much abuse. Eleanor, female land whale, plays as elf rogue. Although she's a chaotic neutral, she acts like a fucking lawful good paladin. Once stole our equipment and sold it to pay for her orphanage. Obsessed with her hair. Like, really obsessed. She rolls d20 every time her character flips hair. I mean it. Have no combat skills whatsoever. Puts all her points in charisma and never uses anything but seducing.
Oh, for God's sake, you know fine out what's going on.
I played with them for 8 months.
I mean, like, I'm just saying, this group sounds interesting. I would definitely, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't be up for at least one game of it. I don't think they sound like that bad. I mean,
no, well,
they are pretty bad. I mean,
yeah.
They sound like pretty horrible people to be around. But you know, I don't know. I think I could get on with them. You know.
I have a pretty good group, but I had plans to start a sci-fi game one evening and asked them what role they wanted to play in the universe. Their response terrified me. The 2 girls in the group said they wanted to be companions.
Is that another word for fucking lesbians?
I don't know. Like that one chick in the show Firefly. Never watched it. Of the other 2 male players, one decided to be their pimp and the other his bodyguard. The pimp decided that, in order to increase his profits, he would need to kidnap more girls to whore out. Getting a spaceship was also mandatory, but they didn't have the funds, so they were likely going to have to steal one, and whore out the crew or just kill them. Since the group realised they were going far enough to kill a ship full of people to steal it, the group realised that they may as well be space pirates as well. So the plan was, the group would get to their ship, plunder every vessel they came across, capture the men and women, and whore them all out for profit. I wasn't sure how easily I could run a game so devoid of morals for any real length of time, but that isn't what concerned me the most.
Okay, what was it?
The companions said they'd be perfectly okay sexing up whoever their pimp would sell them out to. Wherever their pimp flew the ship, be it at fellow pirate outposts or mercenary camps, the girls were willing to accept the consequences. The pimp quickly pointed out that, to expand their market, they'd have to be willing to engage in interspecies erotica. There were multiple alien races in my campaign, including space kobolds, but 2 races I made specifically for this campaign came to mind when this was mentioned. The first was a wolf humanoid race, inspired by Star Fox.
Alright, like, we already know this is turned into furry porn.
And the other was a large-sized kangaroo-like race, inspired by Sith from Titan AE. Which was...
Okay, in Australia, I know there's a good few Australians that watch us. How many furry kangaroos
are
are there?
about, let me know.
Is that a thing? Does that exist in Australia?
Which was the show that got me interested in making a sci-fi campaign in the first place. Other races included something that looked like Meatwad with arms and legs and an insectoid race. So this is what I said to her. Me, you're telling me you want to screw these aliens? Yeah, I could do that. You want to sex up some furries? I've got no issue with that. So you're gonna roleplay sexual interactions with these guys? The pimp. Keep in mind that the kangaroos are large size and humans are medium. You think you could survive that? Chick. Yeah, and Anon here can describe what's going on and find artwork online to make it even more engaging. Me. So you want me to run a campaign where half the time I'm describing furry sex scenes and showing the party furry porn? Yeah, it'll be funny. I don't think this campaign's gonna work, guys. The group was smart enough to change their character ideas after this conversation.
That's
oh, good
that's
Lord.
You know what? I appreciate the. No, guys, trust me. It's going to be really.
It's going to be really funny, guys. It's really going to be really funny.
We're gonna have all this furry sex and trust me, it's going to be totally for a laugh. Totally for a laugh, and then afterwards we're gonna have a fucking orgy, alright? But that's neither here nor there. It's gonna be, trust me, you guys know what we're gonna get into.
Oh, good Christ!
Yeah, I think that's we're just gonna end it there. I think,
end it on the furry porn, guys.
I mean,
just end it.
Yeah. What is it? You know, this is an old thread. This is from 2012. I think a lot of the stuff was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
You know, some of the comments were interesting to see people's perspective on stuff back then, because you really do forget how much. Honestly, see 2012 being into the world.
It probably should have been.
It probably was. I think we're on a different timeline. You know, I think we're definitely on a different timeline, and we're slowly falling into purgatory.
Yeah.
But look, hey, you may as well subscribe to Neckbeardia.
Exactly, and leave your stories down below so we can read them and see what your group has been like. Vent us your stories. Yes.
And don't worry, if you want, you can use my. You can just say, "Oh, James is my group," or "I've got a group of Jameses." Whatever makes you feel better. Yes,
and also while you're down there, check out the links to the website to see the models and the subclasses, all that good shit, and hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get notified every time we post a video. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.